the breaking news this morning that the UK economy has unexpectedly contracted by 0.1% in January. What's your reaction to that? And do you think this is an example of President Trump's tariffs taking hold?
No, I don't think this is unexpected at all, frankly. This is a result of the political decisions that were taken by Rachel Reeves in her disastrous budget last year. By hiking taxes on working people and businesses across the country, they've killed growth. The last Conservative government left this one, the fastest growing economy in the G7. Now we're seeing growth is down, inflation is up. Every business that I speak to is making cuts, is looking to lay people off. This is a really bleak situation. And in less than 2 weeks, Rachel Reeves is going to come to Parliament for an emergency budget. She said she wouldn't have to do this. She's coming to Parliament to explain what she's going to do, whether it's cutting public services or further raises in taxes. It's as a result of her...
A political earthquake has just shaken the very foundations of British politics. And if you ever thought the Labour Party had the game all sewn up, it might be time to think again. Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, is now facing a serious political deadlock, and what were once whispers in the corridors of Westminster have erupted into full-blown detonations. The Bank of England isn't willing to wait. They want her out, not next year, not next month, but right now. When Keir Starmer became Prime Minister, he said that he wanted to restore trust to British politics with action, not words. Well, today his actions speak for themselves, with a budget that contains broken promise after broken promise, which points to the simple truth that the Prime Minister and the Chancellor have not been straight with the British people time and time again.
On occasions. I personally haven't done, as I said at the O2, and wouldn't do.
Today, Housing Minister Matthew Pennycook became the second Cabinet Minister to throw Ms Reeves under the bus over her freebie scandal. Yesterday, it was Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander.
I haven't taken any tickets, to be honest, since I was elected back in June as a new Member of Parliament and going straight into the Ministry of Justice and then coming straight into the Department for Transport. I actually, sadly, haven't been to see any concerts at all over the last 9 months, partly because I've been very, very busy.
Would you take tickets?
I have never, as a Member of Parliament, I have never accepted tickets to any concerts.
But this is where everything starts to spiral out of control. Starmer remains conspicuously silent, despite mounting warnings, a public backlash, and quiet rumblings from within the financial sector. Those who truly understand what's unfolding are shocked that Starmer continues to stand firmly by Reeves, and that raises a question few can ignore.
This is a British crisis made in Downing Street. No other government is sabotaging their own country's economic credibility as this government is. So, Mr Speaker, can I ask, are the Chancellor and the Prime Minister the last people left on earth who actually think that their plan is working? Mr Speaker, the Chancellor is in a dangerous state of denial. But the costs of these mistakes are all too real for everyone else. Borrowing costs up, growth down, mortgage payments set to increase by £500 a month. Now they scrabble around looking for cuts, hitting the most vulnerable and hitting our public services. It does not need to be this way. So will the Chancellor now put aside his pride, do the right thing for our country, end this trickle-down nonsense and reverse the budget?
What exactly is he trying to protect? Does Reeves hold some secret that compels him to defend her at all costs? And more importantly, could this be the kind of crisis that sends the entire Labour government into a tailspin?
Talking about Art Laffer, yes, the famous American economist who drew on a napkin to one of Reagan's economic advisors a curve which was a brilliant way of capturing the idea, which is obvious when you think about it. The more you raise tax rates, the more growth is going to be crushed, the more people are going to try and do things to avoid paying the tax. So you get to a point where a tax rate gets so high that to increase it even more means you get less revenue because there's less economic activity and people take more steps to avoid the tax. That is the Laffer curve. Look, the Laffer curve, if you raise tax rates even more, you're going to get even less tax by crushing growth. I think we're at that point now, even beyond it, Alex. Think about corporation tax. One of one of the most important taxes for determining whether businesses actually build that extra factory, whether they take on that extra worker. You know, if it's a small business or a medium size or a big business, corporation tax is absolutely vital. As the Tories rightly lowered the rate of corporation tax from 2010 onwards, from high 20% down to 19%, George Osborne and David Cameron did that, and fair play to them. The actual amount of tax that they got from corporation tax, the actual amount of revenue, went up. It went up enormously as a share of...
But the issue that Reeves is facing is more than economic policies. Rachel Reeves is accused of lying on her CV. The Chancellor said in her LinkedIn profile that she worked for the Bank of England for 10 years. However, a bombshell revelation has shown that it was only 5 years, with further spending at the London School of Economics. The question is why? Did Reeves lie on her resume to have a better chance of being the Chancellor? Whatever her reason, she has been found out, and it is another slap on the face of the Labour government. But it gets even crazier. And just when you thought the Labour Party couldn't do much more to undermine public trust in its ability to manage the economy, the revelation that a senior politician allegedly embellished her CV to secure the role of Chancellor felt like rock bottom. But no, Rachel Reeves appears to have found an even deeper descent.
Let's talk about the current government we have, because a lot of pressure on the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, to account for her CV and changes. Recently just made changes to her LinkedIn profile, sort of the career profile, suggesting that she hadn't, after all, worked as an economist at HBOS, the Halifax Bank of Scotland as it was then, at the time when she claimed to have previously been an economist there. She was just working an administrative job. More claims coming in about interviews she's done where she's claimed to have been at the Bank of England as an economist for 10 years, actually 6 years. Many different claims saying that actually a lot of the things she's said on her CV simply don't add up. Even just the claims not on her official CV, but this idea that she is this, championship chess player as a child. No, not true. Didn't win a championship. What do you make of these claims against her, and whether or not she's been telling porky pies about her qualifications and her experience?
Well, we can look at the evidence, which is that there's a document that was submitted to Companies House in 2008 when she became a director of a charity in which she claimed she was an economist.
At the centre of mounting criticism is a bombshell leak concerning spending on asylum seekers, a revelation that has sent shockwaves through both Westminster and the British public. The leaked documents have revealed a staggering figure that left many speechless. The UK government has funneled up to £6 billion into asylum programmes, and that's before you even count the administrative costs of that £6 billion spent. Nearly all of it was solely on direct support. Let that sink in for a moment. That figure only covers support schemes, excluding the full cost of processing claims and running the reception infrastructure. Just take a second to think about that and what it means for the working class. And if you thought it ended there, think again. A significant portion of this spending was quietly approved under what now appears to be the conveniently invisible oversight of Rachel Reeves. Don't forget that for months, Labour has repeatedly stressed that the current budget is far too tight to allow for tax cuts, support for small businesses, or even to sustain vital services like policing and healthcare. Yet when it comes to spending on asylum seekers, suddenly every financial barrier seems to vanish, and this is precisely where things begin to spiral out of control. The issue isn't just the damaging optics, it has the potential to explode into a full-blown political storm, one with consequences that cannot be underestimated. The public is furious, demanding clear answers and asking the obvious question: is the Labour Party living in a completely different reality from the everyday lives of ordinary people? If the budget is supposedly too tight to support struggling British families, then why does there seem to be ample funding for schemes like this?
The one job that I've always wanted to do is to be Chancellor of the Exchequer. I was an economist at the Bank of England for many years before I became an MP. I worked in financial services. I know how to run a successful economy. And I wanted to be an economist after finishing at university. The economy growing, and that has been the missing ingredient these last 13 years. Now, Phil sort of says, oh, I'm an ex-banker. Yes, I am an ex-Bank of England economist. COVID, What a nightmare. So I have 45 minutes, basically, to prepare my speech. Now, my background is as an economist, and I think I put that to good use. I first came to Washington, as you said, a little over 20 years ago. As a young economist at the Bank of England, I was seconded to the British Embassy here in Washington. And I always feel that every generation of women are sort of standing on the shoulders of those who have gone before us. But it also made me reflect that in all my time working as an economist at the bank and in the private sector, I spent the best part of a decade as an economist at the Bank of England. Wanted operational independence at the Bank of England. I started my career as an economist at the bank. Things that add up. You know, I started my career as an economist at the Bank of England. I know how important it is to have low and stable inflation and predictable interest rates. When I worked at the Bank of England as an economist, those are things that I would take into this job as Chancellor. The numbers have always got to add up. But haven't
As public outrage grows, so too does the call for transparency. Suddenly, Rachel Reeves is no longer just the subject of criticism. She now faces a very real risk of losing her position, and more worryingly, this may only be the opening chapter of a political crisis that's just beginning to unfold. Behind the closed and silent doors of the Bank of England, discontent has been simmering for months. From the very first day in office, Rachel Reeves painted a rosy picture of a stable, growing and secure Britain. But rather than steering the country forward, she has seemingly sent the economy into a downward spiral. Prices remain stubbornly high, business confidence continues to erode, and Labour's so-called growth plan is starting to resemble a train wreck unfolding in real time. The Bank of England has not missed a single misstep, and its patience has run out already. A leaked internal document suggests that the bank's leadership no longer sees Reeves as a solution, but as a liability. In Westminster, whispers have become open speculation. Some even believe the bank is quietly manoeuvring to see her removed. If these rumblings prove to be true, this wouldn't just be a political stumble. It could be a seismic event powerful enough to bring down the entire Labour government. Now, you won't believe the real reason behind all this. Whispers in Westminster suggest this isn't just about economics, it's personal. Some senior insiders are now saying what many have quietly suspected, that this goes far deeper than budget spreadsheets and policy blunders. The way Starmer dodges acknowledging the crisis, the way he shields Reeves despite mistake after mistake, is fueling speculation that if she falls, he might fall with her. So letting Reeves go could unravel something far more dangerous, something Starmer is desperate to keep buried, and if that's true, then this isn't just the story of an underperforming Prime Minister. It could be the clearest sign yet that the entire leadership structure of the Labour Party is on the verge of cracking. If you thought things couldn't get any worse, just wait, because this situation is spiralling out of control while Starmer tries to project an image of calm and control. Labour's entire economic plan is collapsing at a speed no one anticipated. Rachel Reeves's first budget, once hailed as the cornerstone of stability, has instead sent shockwaves through the financial markets. Tax hikes have spooked businesses, investor confidence has plummeted, and whatever faint hopes remain for economic growth evaporated overnight. Labour had promised a strategy that would lay solid long-term foundations, but so far it's only brought deeper chaos. And the numbers, quite frankly, don't lie. They are being out of control, and a spree of tax rises has further pushed working people into poverty. Since Reeves stepped into number 10, the economic indicators have done nothing but tumble. GDP growth forecasts have been repeatedly downgraded, and private sector investment has all but evaporated. Public confidence in Labour's economic direction is slipping fast, and inflation, the very issue Reeves vowed to tackle, continues to squeeze the wallets of working families, intensifying the cost of living crisis. The cracks in her economic plan are no longer hairline fractures, they're gaping chasms. Inside Westminster, tension within the Labour Party is mounting. MPs who once aligned themselves with Reeves are quietly backing away, fearful that if she falls, they may well go down with her. But what lies ahead could shift the political landscape entirely. According to several reports, senior figures at the Bank of England are now considering acting unilaterally, bypassing Reeves altogether to implement emergency measures to stabilise the economy. Should that happen, it would amount to a direct blow to Labour's credibility and authority, a clear signal that the experts have run out of patience and no longer trust the current government. The warning signs have been flashing for quite some time. Reeves has made too many missteps, ignored too many red flags, and alienated far too many influential figures in the financial world. So, the Bank of England no longer wants to be associated with her, and the business heavyweights have all but lost faith in her.
I can understand why people and members are angry. I am angry too. The previous government let people down. Mr. Speaker, the previous government made commitment after commitment without knowing where the money was going to come from. They did this repeatedly, knowingly and deliberately.
Even within the Labour Party, some key figures are quietly manoeuvring to sideline her. But here's the real concern. If Reeves is ultimately forced to step down, she won't be going down alone. Because if Labour's entire economic strategy collapses, the next to fall won't be her. It will be Keir Starmer. And when that happens, the country could be heading into truly dangerous territory. If you enjoyed this political firestorm, like the video and subscribe to the channel for more fascinating political content.